Today I'm going to be bringing you my favourite build from Edge of Fate. Void Titan is back on the menu with this incredible build. We make one of the strongest weapons in the game even better with this build. You constantly generate special ammo and never run out of it, so you can continuously mow down enemies with your weapon even in master level content. Not only that, but the build has incredible survivability thanks to infinite healing through 2 sources of healing, and we also get constant void overshields. And to top it all off, we have huge volatile explosions and a great burst super on top. Dim link for the build will be down in the comments or description below. So the main weapon we use in this build is the exotic Void Auto Rifle Choir of One. Choir of One uses special ammo and can fire in 2 modes, either the more ammo efficient auto rifle mode or the burst fire mode, which chews through ammo but can absolutely mow down tankier enemies in a few seconds. Now Choir of One hits like an absolute truck even in that auto rifle mode. It's a featured weapon in Edge of Fate, so it gets a further 10% damage boost for this season. Then on top of it, in this build, we stack the weapon stat. This is really important because it gives us 2 bonuses. Number 1, it gives us a further damage bonus against minor and major combatants by 15% up to a weapon stat of 100. And then beyond 100, it gives us another damage buff against bosses by 15% for primary and special weapons. The second thing, which is probably more important, is that it provides an increased chance to drop a larger ammo brick when you do spawn special ammo. The higher the weapon stat, the greater the chance of this dropping, and this really helps you to keep up Choir of One ammo up at all times. Don't worry, you don't actually need to reach 200 weapon stat with this build. I'll explain a little later in the video a neat little trick to get free bonus weapon stat through a buff. In terms of what catalyst you want to use on Choir of One, you want to be using destabilizing rounds. It creates explosions which make nearby targets volatile, and also gives you volatile rounds, which not only increases your AoE capabilities within the build, but it also activates one of our key aspects I'll talk about later. But don't worry, even if you haven't got this catalyst unlocked, even the base Choir of One absolutely slaps with the build. The exotic armor piece you want to pair this with is the Actium War Rig, which actually got a big buff in Edge of Fate. Actium War Rig automatically refills 10% of the magazine of any auto rifle or machine gun you have equipped every 1.5 seconds. So if you're firing your Choir of One in the auto rifle mode, you pretty much never need to reload thanks to this exotic armor piece. But what's changed in Edge of Fate is that now on kills, Actium War Rig provides a stacking buff called Auto Loading Link, which grants more damage, more stability, and even more ammo generation up to a maximum of 10 stacks. As you can see here, my damage goes up with each subsequent kill, and the math works out to roughly a 1.5% damage increase per stack, up to around 15 to 16% damage increase at 10 stacks. So just by using these 2 exotics together this season with a decent weapon stat, you will constantly be running around with a 45% damage buff, which is pretty insane because all you have to do is shoot your weapon. Now the best subclass pairing in my eyes for this setup is straight up Void Titan, and that's because it allows us to obtain some insane survivability within the build. We get one of the strongest buffs in the game thanks to Devour. With Echo of Starvation, every time we pick up an Orb of Power or a Void Breach, we gain Devour. Devour heals us for half of our HP every time we kill an enemy and gives us back a good chunk of our grenade energy on top. We generate tons of orbs of power through our armor mods, and we generate void breaches through Echo of Cessation, whereby defeating volatile targets gives us void breaches, which if you remember our Choir of One applies through its catalyst. These void breaches also give us class ability energy, which is great. The other way we get healing within the build and juice up our explosions is through our aspect Controlled Demolition, whereby hitting any target with a void ability or volatile explosion makes them volatile, and damaging them volatile targets causes further explosions and also heals you and your allies when you're near them. It's pretty crazy. The other aspect we have is Bastion, whereby anytime we use our class ability we gain a void overshield. Not only does that void overshield give us more health, but it also increases our damage resistance against enemies, so alongside Devour this is going to make us really tanky. And then this season we have the artifact mod Shield Crush, whereby any time we have a void overshield active, our melee shield throw is going to regenerate faster and cause more damage. So we literally now have all 3 abilities regenerating faster. Grenade through Devour, class ability through Void Breaches, and melee energy through our Void Overshield. So trust me, not only will you be spamming your Choir of One, even with really bad stats like mine, you'll still be able to churn out your abilities like crazy. So now we understand how the build works, let's go over it in more detail, starting with the subclass. For For our super, we're using Twilight Arsenal. It's a great burst super for more damage, and it weakens targets for a further damage debuff. We're also using Rally Barricade because it has a lower cooldown than Towering Barricade. Catapult Lift, Shield Throw, which also grants us Void Overshield, and Vortex Grenade, which does a lot of damage and sucks nearby enemies in. We've already talked about our two main aspects, Bastion and Controlled Demolition. For our fragments, we have Echo of Cessation to generate Void Breaches, Echo of Persistence, so our Devour and Void Overshield buffs last for longer, Echo of Starvation, so we can get Devour in the first place through both Orbs of Power and Void Breaches. And then finally, Echo of Undermining, so our Vortex Grenades can weaken enemies. This makes our Vortex Grenades great to throw out before engaging with a stronger enemy like a mini-boss or a boss. Moving on to armor mods, these are really important. I'll start with a trick that lets you get away with running a lower weapon stat. You want to be using Weapons Font on your boots. This gives you a stacking bonus to your weapon stat every time you pick up an Orb of Power, and trust me, you pick these up like candy. So you'll often be at 3 stacks of armor charge. 3 stacks is pretty easy to sustain, and at 3 you gain a 50 bonus to weapon stat. So in my eyes, you do not need to run more than 150 weapons for this build. But yeah, as you can see from my setup, even something like 120, 130 is fine. For my helmet, I'm using 1 Harmonic Siphon, so we generate Orbs of Power from Choir of 1 kills. 2 Special Ammo Finders is what I'm running. You want to run at least one of these because these increase the amount of energy you receive for your Special Ammo meter every time you get a kill. I also run 1 Grenade Font on my gloves. We already are running Weapons Font, so might as well run some more. We also have 1 Bolstering Detonation to give us more class ability energy, and 1 Impact Induction to give us our grenade energy back. For your chest piece, run the relevant resistance mods based on the activity and enemies you're facing. Some people run the Void Ammo Generation mod, which gives us even more special ammo from using Choir of 1, but I did find this to be a little bit overkill. For your boots, I've already talked about Weapons Font. Then you want to run 1 Harmonic Scavenger, which gives us more ammo back from our ammo bricks. This is essential to run. I also run 1 copy of Insulation so we get our class ability back even quicker. For my mark, I run Time Dilation so our Weapons Font and Grenade Font buffs last longer. Powerful Attraction, so when we use our Rally Barricade, it will automatically suck in any nearby Orbs of Power and give us Devour and other buffs. I've also thrown in 1 Bomber for more grenade energy generation whenever we use our Rally Barricade. For your stat distribution, as you can see, my gear is absolutely awful and the build still absolutely slaps. The only mandatory stat is a high weapon stat. Ideally you want this to be a minimum of 100, but you want this ideally to be at 150. Once you've reached 150 weapons, then I would aim for 100 grenade stat, and then if you can achieve that as well, then aim for 100 class stat to really spam out both of those abilities. For other weapons, I did initially use Lost Signal, so on stronger enemies I could apply a damage over time, but honestly just use whatever anti-champion weapon here. For your heavy, I did equip a Void Machine Gun as a backup, but I never actually used it because we had 100% uptime on our Choir of 1. Also, Choir of 1 just put out more DPS than my heavy machine gun. So yeah, maybe swap this heavy out for something like an Eager Edge Sword for more mobility. For artifact mods, none of these are necessary, but there are some good ones to run this season. You want to run the relevant anti-champion mods you need. Then the important mods to get are Refresh Threads, so every time we get a Void Breach it gives us even more ability energy. Shoulder to Shoulder for more damage resistance, Elemental Coalescence which generates even more Void Breaches, Shield Crush which lets us generate our melee back faster with Void Overshield, and finally Elemental Overdrive which when we pick up a Void Breach gives us a further 10% weapon damage boost on top of everything else. Like I've said, all these artifact mods aren't necessary, they just add the icing on the cake to this build, so in my eyes, unless one of these exotics gets nerfed, this build is going to be completely future-proof. So there you have it, my Choir of 1 Actium War Rig build that is an absolute powerhouse regardless of what activity you're doing. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Destiny 2 build videos as we get deeper into Edge of Fate. I'm Mr. Ronnet and that's it for today. Peace out guys.